There are moments in life when the mind becomes louder than the world around us, when even the smallest decisions feel heavy, and ordinary days feel like mental obstacle courses. Anne Bogel's Don't Overthink It begins here, in this universal space of mental clutter that millions across the world silently endure. Whether it's the young professional in Lagos second-guessing every email, the mother in Chicago overwhelmed by daily choices, or the university student in Seoul spiraling over minor social mistakes, overthinking has become one of the most visible, invisible burdens of our time. And in a world that moves faster than ever, the true weight of overthinking comes not from the thoughts themselves, but from the energy they drain, the confidence they erode, and the opportunities they obscure. If you love powerful, insightful, and life-changing books, then you found the right channel. Every week, we break down the ideas that transform mindsets, elevate success, and shift lives. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you'll want to catch every book we review. Let's continue. In many ways, Bogel speaks into a global climate where anxiety-inducing noise has become constant. Notifications, societal expectations, comparison-driven social media, and the pressure to always choose correctly can leave the strongest minds feeling exhausted. Her message lands in a season where overthinking is almost treated as a badge of honor, a sign that one cares enough or takes things seriously. Yet Bogel challenges that belief with the force of a gentle truth. Your life is too valuable to drown in decisions that shouldn't demand your peace. This is why the introduction to her book resonates deeply. She reminds us that overthinking is never neutral. It steals the present moment, increases stress, postpones progress, and creates a draining loop in which nothing feels simple or satisfying. She echoes the wisdom of Seneca, who once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The overthinker learns this painfully well, because the mind, left unchecked, can spin harmless moments into imagined catastrophes. And yet, Bogel's brilliance lies not in diagnosing the problem, but in guiding readers toward a way out, a way upward, a way into a life where clarity beats confusion, and deliberate decisions dissolve unnecessary mental noise. Her philosophy rests on a liberating idea. Overthinking will end because the world becomes simpler. It ends when you become clearer inside. And this becomes the thread that ties every idea, every lesson, every practical tool she offers. The first shift. Recognizing that overthinking has a cost. One of the most compelling early insights Bogel gives is that overthinking feels harmless but slowly sabotages our daily lives. She compares it to a leaking faucet, small, constant, annoying, and easy to ignore, yet capable of flooding an entire room if left unchecked. Real-life examples illuminate this truth. Take Melissa, a New York-based HR manager whose job is filled with crucial decisions. Outside work, she agonizes over what to wear, what meals to cook, how to phrase a simple text, or whether her colleagues misinterpreted her joke in a meeting. These aren't crises, but they accumulate. By evening, Melissa is drained, not because of her job, but because of decisions that didn't deserve so much mental bandwidth. This phenomenon is universal. In Nairobi, a young graphic designer named Samuel confessed that he sometimes overthinks a simple WhatsApp response for 15 minutes. By the time he replies, he's emotionally exhausted, mentally scattered, and slightly embarrassed. The mental load becomes heavy, though the task was light. Bogel explains that the mind seeks control, and overthinking masquerades as control. But in reality, it drains joy, fuels anxiety, and makes you less effective. The first lesson that emerges here, seamlessly and without needing to be labeled, is that awareness is the birthplace of change. Once you acknowledge the cost of overthinking, you begin developing the desire to reclaim your mental space. As the American writer James Clear puts it, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Overthinking is a system, one that has gone rogue. Awareness is the first interruption. The second shift. Clarity is kindness, especially to yourself. As Bogel unfolds the narrative, she emphasizes that while the world may be complex, your internal system doesn't need to be. Overthinking thrives in ambiguity, and ambiguity thrives where clarity is absent. So the next natural step is to simplify the mental environment. This is not simplification for its own sake. It is simplification for sanity. Think about the average American morning: choosing clothes, preparing lunch, deciding whether to go to the gym, responding to messages, planning dinner, checking bank balances, or navigating the school run. Many of these decisions don't require deep emotional contemplation, yet millions treat them as if they do.
Bogel encourages us to remove emotional weight from decisions that don't deserve it. Take Sarah, a single mother in Atlanta. She used to spend 20 minutes each morning deciding what to wear, replaying scenarios in her head about whether her outfit looked professional enough, stylish enough, or age-appropriate enough. After reading Bogel's work, she implemented a simple wardrobe rotation with pre-paired outfits. Suddenly, her mornings flowed. She wasn't only dressed faster, she was calmer, kinder, more patient with her children. Clarity became an act of kindness. Globally, this principle rings true. In Tokyo, where work culture is famously intense, many professionals live by the concept of shikata ganai, it cannot be helped. It reflects an understanding that some things are not worth wrestling with mentally. Instead, they focus energy on things that matter. Bogel's perspective aligns beautifully. Eliminate unnecessary mental conflict, and you'll have more bandwidth for what is meaningful. When you simplify decisions, you reclaim emotional and cognitive energy. When you reclaim energy, you strengthen your ability to stay present. And presence, Bogel reminds us, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. As philosopher Søren Kierkegaard said, "Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced." Overthinking turns life into a problem. Clarity returns it to an experience. The third shift: reducing decision fatigue before it reduces you. At this stage of Bogel's work, the next lesson flows organically. Reduce the number of unnecessary decisions if you want to reduce overthinking. She explains that decision fatigue is real, and when it accumulates, we overthink more, not because we're flawed, but because we're tired. A striking example comes from American life. Former President Barack Obama famously explained that he only wore blue or gray suits during his presidency because he didn't want to waste mental energy on trivial decisions. He said, "I have too many other decisions to make." His approach reflects Bogel's point. Freeing the mind from triviality strengthens it for significance. In Paris, a pastry chef named Amélie found herself overthinking even her grocery list. After restructuring her routine, scheduling a weekly meal plan, and ordering ingredients automatically, she realized she could redirect the same energy toward designing new pastries. The clarity sharpened her creativity. By linking these examples to Bogel's narrative, we understand that reducing decision fatigue is not laziness, it is strategy. It creates space for emotional stability, productivity, and joy. The lesson naturally evolves. If you eliminate unnecessary decisions, the necessary ones become easier. If the necessary ones become easier, the mind becomes calmer. And a calm mind is less vulnerable to spirals of overthinking. This is how Bogel subtly leads readers into a healthier rhythm, one not governed by endless analysis, but by intentional structures. The fourth shift: recognizing when overthinking becomes a form of fear. As the narrative deepens, Bogel gently ushers us toward a harder truth. Overthinking often disguises itself as fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of regret, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But fear is a poor guide for everyday decision-making. She illustrates this with the example of Alex, an entrepreneur from Texas. Alex delayed launching his online course for months, constantly tweaking, refining, adjusting. He convinced himself he was perfecting, but in reality he was overthinking, afraid of failure, criticism, and imperfection. When he finally launched the course, not only was it successful, but he realized his fear had exaggerated potential negative outcomes. Bogel explains that fear magnifies possibilities, not realities. On a global level, consider Priya from Mumbai, a 26-year-old photographer. She delayed posting her work online for an entire year because she thought people might mock her lack of experience. When she eventually started posting, her work gained traction within weeks. Her fear had tainted an entirely false narrative, one that overthinking had happily nurtured. This aligns with a core belief Bogel introduces: your thoughts can lie to you. Your fears can mislead you. Your mind can create shadows that disappear the moment you shine light on them. Here, a beautiful philosophical tie-in emerges, echoing ancient wisdom. Fear is a poor prophet. Overthinking predicts disasters that rarely occur. Action reveals truths that fear hides. This insight sets us up for the next lesson naturally, because once you understand the role fear plays in overthinking, the next step is learning how to detach your identity from your thoughts. Anne Bogel transitions from diagnosing overthinking to dismantling it, brick by brick, with compassionate but firm instruction. Her philosophy is grounded in a powerful premise: your thoughts are real, but they are not always true. This becomes a recurring theme, and in part 2 of our summary, it reveals its full power. Here, the narrative deepens. Bogel invites readers into a mental shift where decisions become deliberate, mental clutter becomes manageable, and emotional clarity transforms both daily routines and inner dialogue. And she does so by guiding us into a new relationship with our thoughts, one marked not by resistance or fear, but by observant detachment. The 5th shift: treating your mind as a companion, not a commander. One of the most transformative lessons Bogel offers is the idea that your mind is a tool, not a tyrant. The problem with overthinking is not thinking itself, it's letting the mind run unchecked, like a radio that won't turn off. Bogel inspires a shift from obeying every thought to observing thoughts with curiosity rather than panic. To illustrate, she shares stories of individuals who learn to interrupt their thoughts instead of spiraling with them. Consider John, a software engineer in Silicon Valley. He would obsess over small errors in his code long after they were fixed, replaying what-ifs in his mind. His anxiety didn't come from reality, but from loyalty to every thought that crossed his mind. By practicing mindful separation, asking, "Is this thought helpful or is it noise?" he regained control of his emotions.
A similar example emerges globally in Sydney, where a young bride-to-be named Jasmine obsessed over every detail of her wedding. Each minor concern, tablecloth colors, playlist choices, napkin folds, became magnified into imagined disasters. When she adopted Bogel's mental reframe, she began saying aloud, "This is a thought, not a truth." The shift was tiny but powerful. Gradually, she learned to separate her identity from her anxious brain chatter. This reflective stance is echoed beautifully in the words of Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you treat your mind as a companion, sometimes rational, sometimes dramatic, you begin navigating life from a place of power instead of panic. This lesson naturally guides us to Bogel's next principle. If thoughts can be managed, then environments can be curated to make good thinking easier. The 6th shift: engineering your environment to limit mental noise. Bogel stresses that overthinking is rarely an isolated psychological issue. It's often environmental. Physical clutter, digital overload, and chaotic schedules all create fertile ground for mental chaos. The truth is simple: a cluttered environment becomes a cluttered mind. In Houston, a marketing executive named Vanessa experienced this firsthand. Her office desk was a mountain of sticky notes, old receipts,
tangled chargers, and half-finished tasks. She often felt overwhelmed before work even began. When she reorganized her workspace, implementing a 3-tray system for urgent, pending, and archive, her anxiety dropped noticeably. The physical environment had been quietly fueling her mental spirals. This principle extends globally. In Stockholm, where minimalism is practically a cultural value, people intentionally design homes with muted color palettes, open spaces, and functional furniture. The idea is not aesthetic, it's psychological. By reducing sensory overload, they reduce mental overload. Bogel's approach echoes this Scandinavian principle seamlessly. She encourages readers to shape their digital environment as well. Notifications, alerts, and constant connectivity act like tiny mental landmines. Overthinkers often feel compelled to check, respond, validate, confirm. By turning off non-essential notifications, creating inbox rules, and setting digital quiet hours, Bogel explains that we weaken overthinking's strongest ally, distraction. The chain continues naturally. A cleaner environment supports clearer thinking. Clearer thinking supports calmer emotions. Calmer emotions reduce overthinking. And calmness brings us to the next major transformation, bringing intentionality into everyday patterns. The 7th shift, embracing routines that protect your mind from chaos. If environment can influence thought, routines can stabilize it. Bogel believes routines are not rigid schedules. They are safety nets that catch us before anxiety spirals. A routine reduces the number of choices you face daily, which removes fuel for overthinking. She describes a woman named Alana in Denver, who used to wake up each morning feeling scattered. Her routine changed daily. Sometimes she read, sometimes she scrolled social media, sometimes she rushed off to work with barely enough time to grab coffee. She lived reactively, and her mind felt equally chaotic. By creating a simple morning ritual, stretching, journaling for 5 minutes, and reading 1 page of scripture, she anchored her day in predictability. The result wasn't rigidity, it was freedom. This phenomenon isn't just American. In Japan, routines are considered an art form. Many families begin their day with asana kata, a morning rhythm involving tidying, tea, and quiet preparation. Psychologists in Tokyo explain it as creating stable transitions, which reduces overthinking by framing the day with intention instead of uncertainty. Bogel's principles align beautifully with this global wisdom. Routines eliminate unnecessary mental negotiations. Mental ease reduces overthinking. Less overthinking leads to stronger decision-making. This progression becomes crucial in Bogel's next lesson, being intentional about what you say yes to, and even more intentional about what you say no to. The 8th shift, the art of saying no with confidence and without guilt. One of the leading causes of overthinking is the chronic inability to say no. Bogel argues that people overthink their choices because they fear disappointing others, missing opportunities, or appearing selfish. But each yes you don't mean becomes a seed of resentment, exhaustion, and mental turmoil. She introduces the story of Natalie, a Dallas schoolteacher who constantly said yes to extra projects, volunteer activities, social events, and favors for friends. Her mind was always scattered, and she blamed herself for not being better at handling stress. But the real problem wasn't her productivity. It was her inability to set boundaries. Bogel helped her see that every unnecessary yes complicates life. When Natalie began using polite, firm declines, like, "I'd love to, but I'm at capacity," she noticed that people didn't react with disappointment. They adapted. Her mental peace returned because she protected her time. Globally, the same pattern plays out. In Ghana, a young medical intern named Kwame discovered that he often said yes to hospital shifts he couldn't handle out of respect for senior colleagues. It led to burnout and emotional fatigue. When he adopted respectful but clear boundaries, he regained stability and became more effective in patient care. Overthinking thrives where boundaries are weak. Saying no, therefore, becomes an act of emotional self-defense. This leads to a crucial bridge in Bogel's argument. When you simplify what you allow into your life, you simplify what your mind must process. A simpler mental load opens the path to Bogel's next shift, recognizing and interrupting thought loops before they become mental storms. One of Bogel's most practical contributions is her breakdown of mental loops, those repetitive, circular thought cycles that feel productive but only generate anxiety. She explains that overthinkers often believe they are problem-solving when they are simply worrying in disguise. Imagine Raphael, a student at the University of Chicago. He repeatedly replayed the same question in his mind: what if I fail my exam? He reviewed it while eating, walking, studying, even trying to sleep. The thought gave him no direction, only tension. Bogel's approach teaches readers to identify loops by their lack of movement. If you've spent 5 minutes thinking and have 0 new insights, you're not analyzing, you're looping.
The 10th shift, using cognitive reframing to turn heavy thoughts into light ones. Reframing is the art of seeing the same situation with new eyes. Bogel uses this technique to help readers reinterpret stressors that feel intimidating. If overthinking exaggerates threats, reframing shrinks them to reality. Take Lauren, a California college freshman worried about making friends. Her old thought? Everyone is judging me. Her reframed thought? Everyone is too focused on themselves to notice my flaws. It wasn't denial, it was perspective. This new frame turned social anxiety into social curiosity. Across the ocean in the UK, an accountant named Lewis struggled with constant fear about work performance. By reframing, "what if I mess up?" into "I've handled challenges before, I'll handle the next one," he replaced panic with reassurance. Bogel shows that the story you tell yourself determines the weight of your own life. A thought that feels like a mountain becomes manageable when reframed as a hill. This insight is reflected in Epictetus' timeless teaching. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Reframing becomes an emotional shield, a way to navigate life without drowning in mental storms. And this ushers us into the next lesson: removing decision overload by establishing thought defaults. The 11th shift, creating decision defaults to conserve mental energy. One of Bogel's smartest strategies is the creation of defaults. A default is a pre-made decision that automatically guides future actions. This eliminates unnecessary deliberation. For example, if you decide your default breakfast is oatmeal and fruit, you never again waste energy debating morning meals. If your default Friday night routine is resetting your home for the week ahead, you don't negotiate with yourself every time. The power of defaults is obvious in daily life. In Phoenix, a young couple created a default for social invitations. If the event wasn't meaningful or necessary, the answer was politely no. This eliminated dozens of small decisions each month and reduced their mental load dramatically. In Malaysia, an executive set a default rule for online meetings. If a meeting could be summarized in an email, she declined. This one change saved her hours each week and significantly reduced her overthinking. Defaults simplify. Simplicity calms. Calmness dismantles overthinking.
And from this foundation rises Bogel's final lesson in part 2, learning to choose peace proactively, not reactively. The 12th shift, prioritizing peace over perfection. Perfectionism is a close relative of overthinking and often its most dominant force. Bogel explains that perfectionists don't just overthink because they care. They overthink because they fear imperfection. They fear doing something wrong, being judged, or falling short. To show this, she introduces Marcy, a wedding planner from Virginia who obsessed over every detail until the job became emotionally suffocating. When she finally accepted that no event, no matter how lavish, is perfect, she discovered the joy of good enough. It wasn't mediocrity, it was sanity. Globally, this lesson resonates in cultures where perfectionism is entrenched. South Korea's education pressure, Japan's precision culture, America's achievement obsession, all create environments where overthinking is normalized. Bogel challenges this by teaching that peace is a choice, and it is usually found on the other side of letting go. As Rumi wisely said, when you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. Letting go of perfection opens the doorway to inner peace. Peace quiets the mind. A quiet mind doesn't overthink. It lives. Bogel emphasizes that knowledge alone is insufficient. Awareness and reflection are critical, but action solidifies change. Overthinkers often fall into the trap of believing that thinking more equals better outcomes. In reality, excessive thinking delays progress, amplifies anxiety, and creates regret about not acting sooner. Consider Maya, a young entrepreneur in LA who spent months analyzing marketing strategies for her small handmade jewelry business. Each day, she spiraled deeper into questions. Which social media platform? Should I hire a designer? What if my audience doesn't respond? Her hesitation drained her energy and delayed income. When she finally decided to take action, launching a single campaign, then iterating, she discovered that real-world feedback simplified decisions more effectively than endless theorizing. Globally, action over analysis resonates. In India, Ravi, a software developer, delayed submitting his portfolio to international companies for over a year due to overthinking every word and design choice. When he finally applied, he received multiple interviews and job offers. Bogel's lesson is clear. Action short-circuits overthinking and generates clarity faster than any mental rehearsal. This principle naturally leads to the next insight. Small, intentional decisions compound into life-altering results. The 14th shift, embracing micro-decisions for macro impact. Bogel teaches that the tyranny of overthinking often arises from trying to make every decision monumental. The antidote is the micro-decision, small, intentional choices that don't demand perfection but produce steady forward momentum. Take an example from Chicago. Mark, a financial analyst, felt paralyzed by daily choices. Should I invest in this stock or that one? Should I join a networking event or rest? He began implementing micro-decisions, choosing his meals, exercise routine, or reading schedule based on simple rules. Slowly, he regained confidence in making larger, more consequential decisions. Globally, the same principle applies. In Brazil, Anna, a graduate student, set up micro-decisions for her thesis. She dedicated fixed hours each day to research, regardless of inspiration. These small choices compounded, resulting in a completed and high-quality thesis months ahead of schedule. Micro-decisions break the mental loop of overthinking, transforming incremental steps into significant achievements. Bogel's lesson is, the burden of overthinking is often lifted one micro-decision at a time. Small actions amplify courage, which in turn reduces fear-based rumination. The 15th shift, choosing your values as compass.
Once action becomes habitual, Bogel urges readers to anchor decisions in core values. Overthinking frequently occurs when external expectations or societal pressures cloud judgment. By clarifying values, you create an internal compass that simplifies choices, reducing anxiety about right and wrong. Take an American example. Simone, a nurse in New York, constantly worried about pleasing everyone in her department, second-guessing every recommendation. She spent months overthinking each decision. After identifying her core values, patient well-being, integrity, and professionalism, she found clarity. Decisions that aligned with her values were easy. Decisions that didn't were quickly set aside. Anxiety decreased, confidence increased. Globally, values act as stabilizers. In Germany, Lars, a civil engineer, simplified professional dilemmas by defining his values: precision, sustainability, and honesty. With this compass, he navigated bureaucratic and technical challenges without overthinking the politics of each situation. Bogel emphasizes that a value-based approach transforms internal conflict into alignment and decisiveness.
The 16th shift, embracing imperfection as liberation. Even when values and action are clear, the fear of imperfection can trap overthinkers. Bogel teaches that embracing imperfection is not settling, it is liberation. Decisions are rarely irreversible. Outcomes are rarely perfect. Life is dynamic. Recognizing this frees mental space. Consider Noah, a digital marketer in London who hesitated to launch ad campaigns without perfection. Every draft was reworked repeatedly. When he adopted Bogel's principle of good enough to start, he launched campaigns that were effective and generated learnings for improvement. Globally, imperfection is embraced in cultures that value iteration over finality. In Silicon Valley, startup culture thrives on launch, learn, iterate. In Kenya, local entrepreneurs launch small businesses with limited resources, improving as experience grows. Imperfection, Bogel notes, is the engine of progress. Overthinking diminishes when the fear of failure is replaced by curiosity and willingness to iterate. The 17th shift, letting go of outcomes. A natural progression from imperfection is learning to detach from outcomes. Overthinkers obsess over results, magnifying minor possibilities into catastrophic scenarios. Bogel's guidance is counterintuitive but freeing. Focus on effort and process, not solely on results. For instance, Emily, a songwriter in Nashville, overthought every lyric for fear of rejection. She adopted a process-focused mindset: write daily, polish weekly, share quarterly. This shift reduced anxiety and increased productivity. Her music improved not because she tried to control the result, but because she immersed herself in the process. Globally, detachment from outcomes is recognized in Buddhist philosophy as a source of peace. In Thailand, monks teach that attachment to results fosters suffering. Bogel translates this into actionable everyday practices, reminding readers that controlling the process is empowering, controlling the outcome is illusionary. The 18th shift, the power of gratitude and reflection. Bogel emphasizes that reflection without judgment and gratitude for progress are powerful antidotes to overthinking. When we overanalyze, we forget to acknowledge what's already working. Gratitude shifts focus from what-ifs to what is, grounding the mind in present reality. An American teacher named Hannah realized that every day she stressed over minor mistakes, she ignored her progress with students. By keeping a nightly gratitude journal, she redirected mental energy from criticism to recognition. Anxiety decreased, and overthinking lost its grip. Globally, gratitude is celebrated across cultures, from the Japanese Ikigai philosophy to West African communal storytelling, which honors accomplishments and lessons learned. Reflection combined with gratitude strengthens mental resilience and fosters clarity.
The 19th shift, building trust in your decision-making muscle. By now, Bogel guides readers toward self-trust. Overthinking thrives on self-doubt. It thrives where confidence falters. Trust grows through practice, small successes, and observing that decisions, good or imperfect, are survivable. Take Daniel, a London-based architect who feared making wrong design choices. By deliberately making smaller design choices daily and observing their outcomes, he realized that most fears were exaggerated. Self-trust replaced hesitation, and overthinking naturally diminished. The 20th shift, living freely by embracing mental flexibility. Bogel's final lesson synthesizes all prior principles into a single transformative practice: mental flexibility. Life is uncertain, situations change, people change. By practicing awareness, action, values alignment, detachment, gratitude, and trust, the overthinker becomes a fluid thinker, capable of responding rather than reacting, of acting without paralysis, Consider a global scenario. Mei Ling, a project manager in Singapore, faced last-minute changes in project specifications. Previously, she would ruminate endlessly, imagining worst-case scenarios. Now, using Bogel's strategies, she approaches changes as temporary puzzles rather than threats. Her efficiency rises, her anxiety falls, and she experiences clarity in chaos. This mental flexibility enables resilience, creativity, and joy. Bogel's ultimate promise is that overthinking no longer controls your days. It becomes a manageable, occasional visitor, not a permanent resident. Conclusion: the transformation. Anne Bogel's Don't Overthink It is more than a guide. It is a roadmap to freedom from mental noise. By progressing systematically from awareness to environmental design, routine building, cognitive reframing, action, detachment, gratitude, and trust, the reader emerges with the tools to live decisively, peacefully, and fully. Key transformations include: awareness interrupts mental loops. Environmental and routine design protect mental energy. Values guide decisions, reducing fear and doubt. Action, defaults, and micro-decisions build momentum. Imperfection and outcome detachment free the mind. Gratitude and reflection cultivate perspective. Self-trust and mental flexibility sustain calm. Bogel's teachings resonate across cultures, from America's achievement-oriented environments to global traditions emphasizing mindfulness, intentionality, and communal support. Overthinking is no longer a necessary burden. It is a habit that can be reshaped into clarity, confidence, and peace. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Bogel translates this into modern mental terms. Clarity, peace, and freedom arise not from controlling the world, but from controlling the mind. Through her work, readers learn to navigate life without mental turbulence, choosing action over rumination, presence over obsession, and peace over paralysis. In a world where distraction, anxiety, and overanalysis dominate, Don't Overthink It is both a lifeline and a blueprint, showing that by making small, deliberate shifts, anyone can reclaim their mind, their choices, and ultimately, their life. If this message resonated with you, subscribe and join us for more wisdom that fuels growth.